I'm Brian, Professor E. Davis. Welcome to the SDM Sports Network podcast. Special guest in this podcast is a longtime baseball writer. He covered the San Diego Padres, worked and did work for the Giants and MLB. We talk about the NLDS Giant Dodger rivalry and the up and coming collective bargaining agreement with the owners and players, which will expire on December 1st. Interview with Barry M. Bloom starts right now.
Welcome to our SDM Satellite Digital Media News podcast. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. We're talking with a senior writer, works for Spirtico. He used to work at MLB. His name is Barry M. Bloom. He is a award-winning sports columnist reporter for the newspaper magazines since 1976. He does columns on sports businesses for Forbes magazine the last 2 years, covering baseball on and off. And then prior, he worked for the San Diego Tribune. He also is a National Baseball Hall of Fame writer since 1992, and he has been in this business. He also has a master's broadcast in journalism at SF State, which is one of the best broadcasting journalism schools in the country. He, he's also writing about the MLB labor talks and about the Dodgers payroll and of this some of this playoff series. Welcome, Barry. Yeah, so I'm just looking at your piece you just wrote about this series. Let's talk about this series first. This is the 24th and final game. The series, everybody said this was going to go to full five. Yours truly said it's going to go to full five. And this is it. This is the one game for that the punch their ticket to the league to the NLCS to play the Braves on Saturday, and it has not disappointed. This is like the rubber match, the 24th time that these teams are playing this year, including the playoffs. Hmm. Padres. Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, 'Yep, yep. 3 games. Oh, nope. Well, you think about that in contrast, retrospect, because the Dodgers, even before, way before the pandemic and COVID, they were when they were winning championships in the '70s and '80s, or the World Series. There's two titles in '81 and '88 during the '80s. They were going to draw 3 million every year, even when they have a bad year, or have a subpar year. They're going to get close to about 2.8, close to 3 million every year. But and for the but and for baseball like yours truly, I've followed the Giants Dodger rivalry really since about the mid '80s, when they had Tommy Lasorda, Pedro Guerrero, Steve Sachs, Mike Marshall, Earl Hershiser, Fernando Valenzuela, and that group of Dodgers. Of course, they won it all in '88, and then on sandwich between that, of course, 1982, Joe Morgan knocking out the Dodgers on the final day of the '82 season to send the Dodgers home for the winner. Which, by the way, that race also had two great races involving five teams. At least three of those five teams came from the National League West. They went down to the final day. Braves winning the West by one game, and then, of course, Milwaukee holding off the Baltimore Orioles for the young millennials when the Brewers were all those years when the American League East, when they end up, we had two future Hall of Famers, the late Don Sutton and Jim Palmer, Robin Yams, who won the American League MVP in '82. They end up teeing off on another future Hall of Famer, Jim Palmer. They end up winning the West. But you look at these two teams. I mean, and in '91, that Will Clark was on KMBR. Listened to his podcast yesterday. They talked about when they knocked out the Dodgers in '91 on the next to last day. If I'm correct, and I do remember Will Clark homering off Ramon Martinez, Pedro Martinez's older brother, in that Friday night game, and then that put with their win coupled with the Braves win against Houston, that put actually they put them up by one game and put the Dodgers in a possible prospect of on the verge of elimination, and then Trevor Wilson shut them out the next day, 5-0, combined with the Braves win with the Astros, gave the Braves their first of what would be 14 straight division titles. And then we all remember 1983. This season, by the way, Barry, remind me of '93 similar. Giants and Braves go down to the last day of the season. Giants needed a win because the Braves already beat the Rockies, which they beat the Rockies 13 straight times that year without a loss. Uh, Giants had to sweep the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium, which that has never happened since these two teams went on the West Coast. And then the Giants do that. They go to a one-game playoff with the Braves for the National League West title. Unfortunately, the Dodgers cleaned out the Giants 12-1, and Mike Piazza won to win the National League Rookie of the Year, hit 2 home runs, and that was that. The Braves won the division. The Giants were going home to the couch, though, unfortunately. That's how the old format was back in those days. And that was, that was another great race. But I think this has had to be the greatest race of all time. I have to put it right up there with 1983. And I'm going to throw another one out there, 1980, with the Yankees and the Orioles, two teams with 100-plus wins, and the other one going home as well. Right. And 14 games out to be exact in late July, and then right around that period, if I'm correct, Billy Martin resigned, and he got into another ugly situation with Reggie Jackson. He did something was conduct detrimental to the team, and he ended up getting suspended for it. And then once Martin resigned and they brought in Bob Lemon, that's when they caught them. And I think they ended up taking a big series from the Red Sox up at Fenway, they beat them 6 out of 7 in that 1 week span to be within 2.5 up, and then the Red Sox end up had to run the table pretty much and just to force that playoff. And I've seen that playoff numerous times online, and that was like a classic. And he had Bucky Dent hitting that shot off Mike Torres, and then Olayed it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been to those two giant Dodger games in '97. Prior to this, the Wednesday night game, Bonds homers off of Chan-Ho Park when Barry did the 360 windmill when he hit it. They won that game. They won, I think, 2-1 or 3-2 to get within the game. The next day, that afternoon game when Brian Johnson, the local guy who went to Skyline High School over there in Oakland, also played college baseball at Stanford, hitting that homer off Mark Guthrie, the former Minnesota Twins pitcher Mark Guthrie. And I was sitting out there in left field, out there in the lower reserve out in left field, and once that ball went over that fence for a home run, we just went nuts. So it was like the game that the Giants won, they were dead, put them into a virtual tie for first place with the Dodgers with 9 to play. Giants were going to win 8 out of their next 10, and the Dodgers really kind of slumped, and then the Giants won the division against San Diego, and the season's next to last day, which yours truly was there as well. And it's just so many memories, I mean, of this historic rivalry. I wonder how would Ben Scully would sum it up this final act of tonight's contest. I think even though he's not in the booth no more, he can still make it a poetic. Because anytime you listen to Ben Scully, even though we all hate the Dodgers, but not only with his time with doing the Dodgers, but that time when he doing his time with NBC in the mid '80s, when the two, actually I would say three signature games he called during the '80s. when I was growing up at that time was of course, outside of the giant Dodger rivalry, or outside of baseball, of course, the NFC title game when Montana, Dwight Clark, the catch on CBS in the NFC title game back in January of '82 would be the 40-year anniversary coming up, and then 35 years ago, which still is my favorite World Series of the '80s, the '86 Mets miracle against the Boston Red Sox when the Mets came back down by two in the last of the 10th inning. And I still say that was the greatest postseason, best postseason of my lifetime. And then the Kirk Gibson home run when he walked off against the A's in Game One in '88, and then when the drama and when it happens, you can just hear Vince go. You always let the pictures descriptions let it tell the story. Yeah. Oh my, we got to talk about that. So that's such a sad thing. I mean, our condolences go out to the A's and their with Ray Fosse. I mean, the, yep. Yeah, because they were there during the early mid '80s when it was Billy Martin, it was Ricky Henderson, Tony Armas, the Balboa High School native he went to Balboa, Mike Norris, and they won that division title in that strike shortened that split season where they knocked off the Kansas City Royals into their reign as champions of the American League in that division series, and then they got swept by the Yankees, and then things kind of went south for the A's the next 4 or 5 years because all their pitchers end up Langford and Norris and that group, Steve McCanny and them, all those innings they complete games they threw ultimately caught up with them because they had arm and elbow problems, and then the fallout with Martin and owners in the upper tier management, they parted ways, and then things, yeah, yeah, it will catch up with you sooner or later, though. I mean, I pitched in the junior college in the fall league, and I know what it's like. So you got to take care of those arms, and then also was a catcher in high school as well, though too. Wow. Mm. Got it. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Yep. Right, the story about that. Yeah, they blew that 6.5 game lead, and they went that 10 game skid, and the Cardinals ultimately caught them, and the Phillies never recovered, and then the Cardinals won the World Series. Hmm. Right. Well, right. Oh, I know. I've heard about those stories. And one footnote of that record, of course, was eclipsed by the late Anthony Young in 1983 when I think he lost like 27 games in a row as well. But and you think about the analytics. Same thing with Tony La Russa when he had those A's teams in the late '80s. You had a revival of Dave Stewart, who, by the way, pitched with the Dodgers. He was on that team in '81 when they won the World Series. People forget he was on that team. Rick Sutcliffe, who was with the Dodgers from National League Rookie of the Year in '79, was not on the postseason roster in '81, but he was a huge key sent for the Cubs in their pennant, National League East pennant drive in '84 when they acquired him in that big trade with the Cleveland Indians, which involved a young Joe Carter. And Sutcliffe, I think, went like 19-1 and won the National League Cy Young Award. He was a key to the Cubs winning the National League East title, which a lot of credit given by Dallas Green, the Yeah, I also got to ask you about back to Gene Mark. Of course, a couple of days ago, 35 years ago, um, this week, actually a couple of days ago, when you talk about Gene Mark, the decision to bring in Donnie Moore, who had that cortisone shot to pitch to Dave Henderson in that fifth game of the American League Championship Series. And like I said, that was probably my favorite baseball season in the '80s because how that whole postseason had, the story was, of course, the Angels were up 3 games to 1 in that championship series against Boston. The Sox were just a loss away. They're coming off a heartbreaker in Game 4, which they were a strike away from tying that series at 2 games apiece, and they outplayed the Angels in that fourth game. It was Clemens versus another future Hall of Famer, the late Don Sutton. And then Game 5, Dave Henderson, rest in peace. He fills in for Tony Armas, entered the game, who was injured. He hits the Red Sox were trailing 5-2 going into the ninth inning. Don Bailey hits a 2-run homer, making it within one. And then Mike Witt, who I think any other year outside of Clemens would probably was the second best pitcher in the American League. Uh, he gets 2 outs, and then they bring in Gary Lucas. He hits Rich Gedman, and then they bring in Donnie Moore. The controversy of him having elbow issues and had to receive a cortisone shot facing Henderson in that situation, and worked the count at 2-2, and then Henderson kept fouling off, and he dropped that down and split finger forkball, and then like Henderson just went down on it. He went down low on there and just launched it out, a 2-run home run. The Sox take the 6-5 lead, and then the Angels came back to score to go to tie that game up and had a chance to win into the bottom of the ninth. And then two poor at bats by both Doug DeCinces and Bobby Grich. And then the Angels, 2 innings later, Henderson gets the sacrifice fly. Sox go up 7-6. Then Calvin Schirardi, who blew the save in Game 4, kind of redeemed himself, retired the Angels in over. They win it 7-6 in 11 innings. They, of course, even though they were down 3-2, they you felt the momentum shifted towards the Red Sox after that when they stole that fifth game down at Anaheim, and then a couple of days later they put away the Angels, and for Gene Mauch, and kind of a tragic figure because Gene Mauch got close in '82 when they were a win away from couldn't beat the Brewers in '82, and in '64 never got that close again for that veteran group of Angel players, and then the tragedy of Donnie Moore, who ended up taking his own life after that, not because of the pitch, but other issues behind the scenes, with been well illustrated. But well, I grew up with all that, though. Well, I've done some research on these, research of these games and watching, and I think that series as well, and then the Mets Astros series, how that. But yeah, 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 sure. So, but let's talk about more about the. We were just talking about pitchers and arms, but about the labor situation and the with the Dodgers spending. That's one of the biggest stories I want to get to. Um, about the Dodgers with their luxury tax and with the CBA will be expiring on December 1st. Yeah, what's been the talking? What's been with the status of the collective bargaining agreement? Trying to get a new deal. What's been going on with that? Mm. Hey, the tortoise could the tortoise. pros and cons. You cracking me up on that one. I'm not in the. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mid season, yeah. Yeah. Oh my god. And won 100 games and got knocked out in the first round. Mm. Yeah. 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 Well, oh yeah. I mean, I feel bad for A's. I support the A's too. I mean, a lot of bad, a lot of feedback. Listen to A's fans, and and I'm gonna go on the record. This is not, and I repeat, this is not Dave Cavill's fault because he's doing everything he can to keep the A's here in Oakland. A lot of tradition in here. They were the first Bay Area team to win a World Series. Uh, in fact, next year, exactly, and right, right. That's correct. Hmm. No, no. That's the $64,000 question. No. I mean, Howard Terminal. I've been over there. It's a great link. That could, be like the Oracle Park of the East Bay. Uh, exactly. Right. Right. Yep. 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 Actually, since 2000 to be exact, because they've been flirting with the. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Similar thing. Right. Yeah, and it's really, you think, yeah, same thing when they've been flirting with this ballpark thing really since over the last 20 years to be exact, before John Fisher had purchased became owner of the A's. Really, and you flip on the other side, when the Giants built Oracle Park in 2000, it took four failed votes from the previous time for Bob Lowry to get it right. And then, and it took them like nearly a decade to get it paid off because it was non-public money was involved. And remember, Bob Lowry, which by the way, who recently got put on the plaque for the Giants Wall of Fame at Oracle, you know, he tried to get a ballpark right down there, exactly at the same spot, but and it would have passed in '89 if it hadn't been for the earthquake. And then He flirted with San Jose, didn't quite work. He then had to sell the team to the Tampa group and take Tampa St. Petersburg before the National League rejected that move, and then Peter McGowan came in there and Larry Bear, and like they say, the rest was history. No, right. That's correct. Yep. Yep. Uh huh. Right, because Dave Stewart also he have a group of he wanted they wanted to get involved if that was ever to occur. And but you were saying about Oracle Park, same other thing years ago. It was all vacant and empty before they started building that ballpark. And you look over the last 2 decades, a lot of businesses, realtors, and they have spruced up that part of the south of Market though, because it was like. Mhm. Oh, exactly. Even 30, 35 years ago, because I mean, the BART, Greatland, not even close. Yeah, I mean, look, and especially down there, Hagenberger Road. I mean, back in when the A the worst thing that could happen with the A's when the Raiders moved there back in 1985, and before the Raiders moved back to Oakland, the Coliseum was a great place to go to see a baseball game. Even during the midweek when doing their run they had in the late '80s and the early '90s. Excuse me, they had the with the success they've had, 3 World Series appearances and 4 playoff appearances in 5 years. That place would sell out on weekends. They even get close to 50,000 or 45,000 on a midweek for a big series against either the Angels, the Royals, or exactly. That's exactly. You mean that was a great place to go watch baseball? You could sit out those them old bleachers. You know, you could go get yourself a hot dog, a beer, or Coke or something. You won't miss a beat out there in those bleachers. Yeah, to just get one more thing. Your thoughts on tonight's division series? How it's going to play out? Got 1 minute. Exactly. And the Giants offense, they got I think Chris Bryant's gonna have a big night tonight as we're doing the same thing. He's having a great series. And then Yastrzemski, I can see him having a big night as well. He's hit the ball very well, even though the or late in the game. Right, right. They're gonna have to make some adjustments. Hey, before we go, for all of our listeners, listen to this podcast, where they can view your this article of all your articles on Sportico. The website is okay, Barry. Hey, thanks for being our guest on our podcast, and keep up the good work. And I want like to have you back on again real soon. Maybe during the the winter time when they have the with the negotiations of the new CBA down the road. But this has been a great playoff series. It's This is going to be one of those anticlimactic games tonight, and hoping that the good guys in orange and black pull off this W and they advance to play in the on Saturday in the National League Championship Series against the Braves. Hopefully on Saturday night. Hey Barry, you have a very nice day, and keep up the good work. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.